Hey guys, so for this video I am going to be doing a review of Meg 2, The Trench. Yeah. I have not watched the first one in a while, so there might be some things that happened that I don't remember, so I didn't want to go rewatch it before I saw it, so we're going in, I guess, blind. But yeah, so the movie, it takes place about 5 years after the first one, and Jonas Taylor is fighting, he's essentially become a eco-warrior, if you will. He's trying to fight, people who are polluting the ocean. Thing I didn't like about this already, they turned him more into like this action hero instead of the paleontologist and marine biologist he is in the book, and that's true. Throughout the rest of the movie, he's not really, I guess you could say, book smart like he was in the book. We learn all these facts about the oceans and the animals, and it just felt very disappointing, I guess. But yeah, he's helping to explore the Marina Trench in this movie where the Meg was found. His love interest had died before the movie, right in between. So he ends up raising his teenage daughter along with her uncle, who is now the owner of his father's company, along with the financier, Hillary Drycoli, whatever. This is changed from the book again. In the book, he's married to Terry Tanaka, and it's his love interest from the first book, and they end up getting married. And she's the daughter of the man running the Tanaka Institute. She was supposed to be a big part of this book. She was his, the co-lead of the story, and she had a storyline where she goes down into the underwater lab, and she has heavy interactions with the villain of the book. But of course, since the actress apparently decided not to come back, surprising, they completely just removed the character and I guess the role of his wife, and just gave it to the uncle who's in the movie. They also make up the kid, so she doesn't exist in the book, but there is tragedy where I think it happens between the books, where they got pregnant but the child was stillborn, and so that's one of the things that kind of part of the book they're trying to overcome that. And so yeah, so the uncle has raised a trained Meg named Haiji at a lab. She's kind to act really weird, but the uncle doesn't seem to care. They changed her name from the book. It was originally Angel. I don't know why they changed it. The Tanaka Institute, that's what was in the book. It wasn't a lab, it was an attraction. And so one of the things I don't like that they've changed from the book is that they are in financial trouble because they're being sued for all the people who have died because of the Meg, which I kind of liked. I mean, I liked that it was in the book because it felt very much like, it felt realistic that, people would die and they would try to fucking sue the person, whereas in the movie it's just, you don't really get much consequences because of all the shit that happens. So yeah. The team ends up going down to explore the trench again, and the idiot kid comes along, of course, because we can't have an action movie without the kid. It really did feel like the only reason that she existed was to put her in dangerous situations so that he could save her. So add action scenes since Lee. Anyways, the Meg has escaped and is chasing the sub. So they go down into the thermocline where, you know, the Meg isn't supposed to be able to come, but she does get through anyways. And she ends up mating with 2 other Megs. All down there, they discover a illegal mining operation. It's led by this mercenary Montes, and he's kind of butthurt because Jonas had sent him away to prison, which, well, don't break the fucking law. He is hired by the chick investor to mine rare materials, earth materials. In the book, she does not exist. The villain is actually a man. His name is Benedict Singer. He's a successful businessman who's focused on energy. He bought a controlling interest in an institute, and while they both are, like the story is, both of them are mining like rare earth materials. The reason he wants it is because he wants to build a fusion reactor with the materials, whereas she was just money hungry, of course. So the mercenary ends up blowing up the evidence, including 2 of his compatriots, which he seems shocked that he would do that. But so Mac, he's like the lead of guys. I don't know. He's a dude. He tries to send a rescue sub down to rescue them, but it's revealed that the rescue sub has been sabotaged, so they have to get out of the stuck sub and walk across the trench in exosuits, you know. Of course, about like 2 people died because the creature's down there. Survivors get a monologue from Jess, who is revealed to be the traitor. She is one of the, you know, people working with Mac and Jonas. And then, of course, they tried to kill them by flooding the hatch, I guess, that they're in. But Jonas is able to swim outside the trench, into the trench to open the hatch, and he doesn't implode, I guess, because he blows water out his sinus cavities. I guess depressurizing them. I don't know. And you could have guessed that Jess was the villain, except she hesitated when he said to go get the rescue sub, and then she's the one that revealed that the sub was sabotaged, and the fact that someone had wiped out everything, all the video cameras, you know, all the video. So the only person really, you know, who wouldn't, why didn't you suspect one of the people close to you that would have like the power to do that, the access to do that? So yeah. So he has to fight the mercenary who's also survived. But he ends up defeating him, but he doesn't fucking kill him, of course, because you can't really make sure that he's dead, because, you know, we need him to get up and be a pain in the butt for the rest of the movie, don't we? Which he does. I mean, he hits him like 5 times in the head and keeps getting up, so maybe, like, make sure he's dead before you leave so that he doesn't come after you. So they end up getting to the sub, and the investor chick has sent another group of mercenaries to the station to, kill them all. The mercenary, of course, ends up surviving. He, like, hides away somewhere on the sub, and he starts, gets to the station, starts making out with Jess, because I guess they're boning, but yeah, she ends up sending mercenaries after DJ and Max. DJ, of course, is suddenly, expert in fighting. He's able to take all the dudes out, and I guess he explains it by the fact that he decided after the first one to get fighting skills, which I'm not sure how that would help you against Megs, but yeah, they end up escaping from the other mercenaries. But they didn't really think they didn't really think about the fact that there might be other mercenaries on the station. And so they aren't paying attention at all to whether or not there are, anybody around the corners. And they are loud as shit. And so you fucking know they're going to get caught. And sure enough, they get caught because they're stupid. So there ends up being a rip in the thermocline because of the, the explosion. And it lets out the Megs, along with some lizard creatures, and a giant octopus. In the book, there's actually just one Meg, Angel, and the movie does not include the main creature from the book, the, what is it called, the Chronosaurus. It's responsible for setting the entire plot into motion, and it plays a big role in the end. So yeah, it felt very much, don't know why they didn't include that one. But yeah, Jonas ends up meeting up with DJ and Mac, and they make their escape in a boat. And then Jess boasting about how the station's Meg proof, then gets eaten by a Meg. The mercenaries try going after them in their own boat, but they end up getting eaten. So they all end up back at the resort. It's called Fun Island, of course, where there's a bunch of people ready to be eaten. The investor lady has sent some more mercenaries, and I guess she comes along with them to kill them. And and then Jonas's team is gone to warn people. So next I'm gonna go through what happens with each of the characters, because it switches between scenes of all this shit happening, and it just gets confusing. So I'm just gonna go through each one entirely first. So the bitch investor and her mercenaries get attacked by these lizards that can swim on land and swim in water and walk on land. And they send her back to the plane, but she ends up getting eaten because she's dumb as shit. She's in the plane with her pilot, and then she's hearing gunshots, and so she tells a pilot to go out and look, and he gets eaten. She gets out and just to get a gun. She gets back into the plane without actually looking to see if there's anything in the plane, despite knowing there are little lizards running around. She closes the door to trap herself, and the other doors are open, and so the lizard gets into the plane and eats her. I was wanting her to die, but I was also mad because she was so stupid that you don't know why that they were having trouble with this bitch, because she was so stupid. But yeah, Taylor, he's created explosive spears and then spends the rest of the movie zooming around on a jet ski, throwing spears at the Megs. So he ends up killing one, and then they do this scene where him and the bad guy are on the deck, and Taylor was able to get a gun, but of course he doesn't use it. He just sits there and fucking monologues, of course. Then he sees the Meg coming up behind because the guy, the bad guy, had an injury and the blood was dripping down into the water. But instead of going underneath the deck, like, they did earlier in the movie, the Meg came up beside them so that he is able to kick the bad guy into the mouth of the Meg conveniently. And then he ends up killing the other one by impaling him on a helicopter blade that was just conveniently laying on a piece of land so that he could do that. So DJ and Mac, they take the helicopter that the bad chick had. They had to fill it up with gas first because they didn't look before they tried leaving. And so they put the gas nozzle into the plane, and then they hover off the ground, and while the little creatures are jumping on, and one of them, of course, falls off, and so he uses the gasoline to, create a I guess a circle to and then lights it to kill the creatures. They end up crashing it eventually, just so that he can, Jonas can use the propeller to kill the Meg. So the uncle, he had created a bomb with fertilizer, and he then uses it to take out the octopus, which he did not know existed until they start plucking people off the, boats and everything. But they had, they knew, I guess, what it's supposedly he creates a bomb for the Meg, but then, just happens to use it for the octopus. I don't know. There was another chick that was running around with them, but she played absolutely zero part in the story, so she's honestly forgettable. And the kid, of course, despite being told to stay fucking put, hide, is once again, running into the water with all the, people. She does save the dog, which I'll give her something for that, but she was completely useless still, so, yeah. They've killed all the Megs, but then the Haikyuu appears, but the uncle's able to drive her away. He says because she wouldn't hurt him, and Jonas thinks it's because the pot of dolphins, distracted her. And they wonder if she's pregnant because, she's mated with the other Megs, and, they don't really, they pretty much just, who cares? And then they end up, finding some alcohol to start drinking. And, that was it. Thoughts? The characters were bland as hell. They're completely forgettable. You don't feel connected to any of them at all, or any of the relationships between each other, because they're just boring. They just wanted a generic action movie, which made me mad because I wanted something in the line of Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was good at combining the science, developing the characters and the relationships, creating suspense, and then when eventually it comes around, the dinosaurs escape, it's very suspenseful, and we get some fun action scenes, and the characters aren't dumb as shit, most of them. So yeah, I guess I'm perpetually looking for another movie like Jurassic Park in these kind of movies, and I'm just disappointed. And yeah, there's not much from the books in the movies, particularly when it comes to science, that would really give us kind of weight that Jonas is actually a scientist instead of just, a guy who likes running around. Development of this movie in August of 2018, Steve Alton said, "My feelings have always been that this is a billion-dollar franchise if it was done right, but to be done right, you have to get the shark right, get the cast right, get the tone right, and Warner Brothers has nailed that completely. The producers have nailed that. I feel like he says, like most authors, being nice. They want this movie to succeed, so they'll support them no matter what, because I don't believe for a second Jason Statham was a good cast for, Jonas Taylor. He just feels like an action star, that's it. He doesn't feel like a scientist that the character is in the books. And it just keeps irritating me, to be honest. In the September 2020 newsletter, Alden confirmed the script titled Meg 2, The Trench to be completed, and expressed interest in its dark tone. first I read this, I thought it was indication that he was involved in the script, but I think he's just giving them updates on the movie's progress, because he's not involved in the script, or at least his name isn't anywhere, in the, creation of the movie. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 28%, 140 critics reviews. Has an average rating of 4.5 out of 10. The consensus read, "It isn't without its fun moments, but Meg 2: The Trench suffers from a disjointed story that drifted for too long before finally delivering a few campy thrills." I mean, one of the few times I'll agree with Rotten Tomatoes, because, yeah, it feels very disjointed, and, it feels like it's just wasting time until they can get to the action scenes at the end. In their negative reviews from RogerEbers.com, Brian Tarico gave 1 out of 4 stars and wrote, "At least until the final half hour, when he's finally free to unleash some monstrous chaos, this is one of the dullest films of the year. A plodding, poorly made giant shark movie that inexplicably lets the giant shark take a backseat to an evil underwater drilling operation." I do agree with that, in the sense that it felt very much it was the main villain that was the chick who was the main villain, and the main focus, not the sharks. They seem to be very, coincidental, if you will. So Richard Lawson wrote in Vanity Fair, "Meg 2 is confident in its schlock, pulling at one ridiculous conceit after another at such a pace that the audience can't help but be swept up in it. This is a harder needle to thread than many filmmakers seem to think. It's not easy to just be stupid." So I'm assuming, I don't know if that's supposed to be a positive or negative review, if he says this is like one of those movies that are so bad they're good, or if he's just saying it's stupid, but yeah. Some of the people who worked on the film, the screenplay was by John Haber and Eric Haber. I just now realized they're brothers, which would explain why they work on every movie together. Like, you look at both their filmographies, they're all the same movies. I did not realize it's because they're brothers until now. I didn't look at the last name. But they had done Whiteout, the 2009 movie with Kate Beckinsale, where she goes to the Arctic and there's someone kills someone else, and it's like a whole thriller, and I love that movie. I know some people don't, but I love it. So the fact that they wrote this movie as well, which is kind of boring, was a surprise to me. And then also Dean Georgeris. He also wrote Paycheck, 2003, with Ben Affleck, where he invents a team machine that will predict the future, I believe. And so he it's a whole mystery. I have to do a movie on that one because of how ridiculously convoluted it is. But I love that movie. So once again, having him write that movie, but this movie being boring, was a disappointment. And then of course the composer for the movie is Henry Gregson Williams. He did Chicken Run, Spy Kids, the Shrek movies, the Chronicles of Narnia movies, and the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. All of which soundtracks I enjoy. So yeah, I guess I'll have to go re-listen to this soundtrack. But otherwise, I was kind of disappointed because the soundtrack, I don't think, from my memory at the moment, was that good. So some of the other difference from the book, the ending has him actually going down into the trench, Jonas going down into the trench to rescue Terry, and fend off the pack of Chronosaurs. Whereas in this one, it has it at Fun Island, which of course we had to have some annoying ass people. And then of course, the Alton's book limits the deaths to only a handful of people, including teens eaten by the Megalodon. But in the movie, it's a lot of people because they have to, get those people eaten. And of course, a lot of the movie takes place out of the trench, whereas the book takes a lot of it takes place in the trench. I can understand in a way because, it's hard doing a book with a movie where you're doing so much time underwater in like subs to make it really interesting, but I feel like you can find ways to do that if you're really good at making a movie. The Abyss, it takes place in the underwater station, but still it's underwater and it's very isolated. I felt they did a good job with that. So I felt like if they really put their mind to it, I think they could have made a good movie that followed, the book and had a lot of it taking place in the trench. But yeah, this movie was just disappointing to me. So yeah, so that was my review of Meg 2: The Trench. So if you did like this video, give it a like, subscribe to get notifications for all the videos I'll be doing. You guys have a nice night. Stay safe out there. I'll talk to you later.